Ethan Wright lived alone in a small wooden cabin deep in the Montana woods. He liked it that way. No neighbors, no noise, just him and the endless trees. At night, he often sat on his porch with an old telescope, looking at the stars. The sky was so clear here, far from city lights. Ethan knew all the constellations and planets. They were his friends in the quiet darkness. One cold winter night, Ethan was making coffee when he felt the ground shake. A bright light flashed through his windows. He ran outside and saw something burning across the sky. It wasn't a shooting star. It was bigger, faster, and it crashed somewhere in the forest near his home. Most people would call the police or the army. Not Ethan. He didn't trust the government. Too many questions, too many men in suits taking over. So he grabbed his rifle, put on his heavy coat, and headed into the dark woods alone. The snow crunched under his boots as he followed the trail of broken trees. The air smelled like burning metal and something strange he couldn't name. After walking for 20 minutes, he found it. A hole in the ground, smoking. And in that hole was not a meteor. It was a ship. Not like any plane or spacecraft he had ever seen. It was smooth and silver with no wings. Parts of it glowed with blue light. Pieces of metal were scattered across the snow. "What the hell?" Ethan whispered, his breath making clouds in the cold air. He climbed down carefully into the crater. The ship had split open on one side. Ethan pointed his flashlight inside and froze. A woman lay there, not moving. At least she looked almost like a woman. Her skin was pale but had a strange shine to it, like fish scales catching light. Her hair was white as the snow around them. She wore a tight suit made of material Ethan had never seen before, covered in symbols that glowed faintly. Blood was coming from a cut on her head, but the blood was blue, not red. "Hey," Ethan said, touching her shoulder. "Can you hear me?" Her eyes opened suddenly. They were deep purple, with no white parts like human eyes. She looked at Ethan and said something in a language that sounded like singing. She tried to move, but cried out in pain. Her leg was trapped under a piece of metal. Ethan didn't understand what was happening, but he knew she needed help. He moved the metal off her leg and saw that it was badly hurt. The strange blue blood was soaking into the snow. "I'm going to help you," he said slowly, even though he knew she couldn't understand. "You need to come with me." The woman watched him with those purple eyes. She seemed afraid but had nowhere else to go. Slowly she nodded. Ethan helped her stand. She was light, much lighter than she should be for her size. He put his coat around her shoulders and helped her walk back to his cabin. By the time they reached his home, she was shaking from cold or shock or both. Ethan laid her on his couch and made a fire in the fireplace. He found his first aid kit and tried to clean her wounds. The blue blood was sticky and thick. The woman watched everything he did. Sometimes she would say words in her strange language. Once she reached out and touched Ethan's face with fingers that were too long to be human. "You're safe here," he told her. "Whatever you are, wherever you came from, you're safe now." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat in a chair watching the woman on his couch. What was she? Where did she come from? Was she really from another planet? It seemed impossible, but there she was. In the morning, the woman seemed better. Her wounds were already healing faster than any humans would. She stood up and walked around the cabin, looking at everything with great interest. She picked up books, touched the television, studied the refrigerator like it was a mystery. Ethan tried to talk to her, pointing at things and saying their names. "Table, chair, window." The woman would repeat the words, her accent strange but clear. By the end of the day, she could say several words. By the end of the week, she was speaking in simple sentences. Her mind worked faster than any human's. She learned English like a child, but at an amazing speed. Ethan started calling her Lily because of a strange flower-shaped mark on her shoulder. She seemed to like the name and would smile when he used it. As days passed, Ethan noticed strange things about Lily. She never seemed to get cold. She could see in the dark. Once, when she thought he wasn't looking, she lifted his heavy oak table with one hand to look under it. At night, Lily would go outside and look up at the stars with a sad expression. Sometimes she would point at certain stars and say words in her language that Ethan couldn't understand. Ethan knew he should tell someone about her. Scientists would want to study her. The government would want to question her. But he did nothing. He liked having her there. His quiet life wasn't so quiet anymore, but he didn't mind. One night, about a month after she arrived, Ethan woke up to find Lily standing by his bed. "Danger," she said in her now clear English. "They looking for me?" "Who?" Ethan asked, sitting up. Who's looking for you? Lily pointed up at the ceiling, then beyond it to the sky. Masters, she said, and for the first time since he'd known her, Ethan saw real fear in her strange purple eyes. That same night, Ethan heard the sound of helicopters in the distance. He looked out his window and saw lights moving through the sky, searching. They were still far away, but coming closer. We need to go, he told Lily. Now. They packed quickly. Food, water, warm clothes. Ethan's rifle and all the bullets he had. His savings, about $2,000 in cash. As they were about to leave, Lily ran back into the cabin. She returned with something in her hands, a small device she had taken from her ship. It glowed with the same blue light. Need this, she said. Help us hide. They left in Ethan's old truck, driving away from the only home he had ever known. As they reached the main road, Ethan looked back and saw bright lights shining down on his cabin from above. Men in dark clothes were running into his home. Who are they, Lily? He asked as they drove into the night. What do they want? Lily looked at him with those alien eyes. Me, she said simply. They want me. I am property. Ethan gripped the steering wheel tighter. Not anymore, he said. Not if I can help it. As they drove away from everything familiar, Ethan realized his life would never be the same again. The stars above them suddenly seemed less friendly, less distant. Whatever was out there had found its way to Earth, and now he was part of it. The first week on the road was hard. Ethan and Lily slept in his truck, parked in quiet places far from towns. They only went out when they needed food or gas. Ethan paid with cash only. No credit cards that could be tracked. Lily's English got better every day. Soon she could talk almost like a normal person, though sometimes she used strange words or put them in the wrong order. I need to tell you truth, she said one night as they sat in the truck, rain hitting the roof. All truth, Ethan nodded. He had been waiting for this. I'm not from Earth, Lily said. This was no surprise to Ethan. I come from a world called Lyra. My real name is Lyranai. Lyranai, Ethan repeated. It suited her better than Lily. My people were peaceful. We lived in harmony with nature. Then the Draheks came. Her purple eyes grew dark with bad memories. They wanted our world for resources. They took many of us. They kidnapped your people? Ethan asked. Yes, they changed us here. She touched her head. Put things in our brains to control us. Make us serve. Make us slaves. Ethan felt sick. That's terrible. I was made to be scout. They send me to new worlds to study. See if good for taking. She looked at Ethan with sad eyes. I was sent to study Earth. So there are more like you? More aliens on Earth? Lyra and I nodded. Many. Some look like me. Some look more like you. All are slaves. All have masters. But you escaped, Ethan said. Yes, I damaged my ship on purpose. Crashed here. Thought I would die in crash. She smiled a little. Then you found me. How did they find us at my cabin? Lyra and I touched the back of her neck. Tracker inside me. I thought I turned it off, but only for a short time. Can we remove it? She shook her head. Not easy. Connected to my brain. Need special tools. So they can always find you? Yes, but this helps. She held up the blue device she had taken from her ship. Blocks signal. But only works for a few hours, then needs rest. Ethan thought about this new information. Aliens were real. They had been visiting Earth. And some of them wanted to take over, just like in the movies. The people in the helicopters, he said. Were they aliens too? Some yes, some no, Lyra and I said. Draheks have human helpers. Give them advanced technology in exchange for help. Traitors, Ethan muttered. They do not know full truth. Draheks will take Earth one day. Use all resources. Leave nothing. They drove south, changing direction often. Lyra and I showed Ethan how to spot surveillance cameras and avoid them. She could sense technology in ways humans couldn't. One day they stopped at a small motel. They needed real sleep, a shower, a proper meal. Ethan paid cash and used a fake name. The room was small and smelled like old cigarettes, but it had 2 beds and hot water. That night, Lyra and I screamed in her sleep. Ethan woke her gently. Bad dreams? He asked. Memories, she said, her voice shaking. My master. He calls to me through the bond. Bond? All slaves have mental bond with their masters. They can feel us, send thoughts to us, control us when close enough. Is he close now? Ethan asked, suddenly afraid. No, too far to control, but he knows I am awake. Knows I am fighting. She held her head in her hands. It hurts to resist. Ethan sat beside her on the bed. You're not alone, he said. I'll help you fight. Lyra and I looked at him with wonder. Why do you help me? I bring danger to you. Ethan thought about it. Because it's right. And because I've never felt like I belonged anywhere. Never had a purpose. Now I do. The next morning, they left the motel early. As they drove away, Lyra and I suddenly tensed. Turn here, she said, pointing to a small side road. Ethan did as she said. What is it? Felt something. Someone watching us. They drove faster. In the mirror, Ethan saw a black car turn onto the road behind them. They found us, he said. Device needs recharging. Signal is leaking through. Lyra and I's voice was tight with fear. Ethan pressed the gas pedal harder. The truck sped down the empty road. The black car followed, getting closer. Hold on, Ethan said. He turned sharply onto a dirt road leading into a forest. The truck bounced over rocks and holes. Branches scratched at the windows. The black car was still behind them. Then, through the trees, Ethan saw a bridge ahead. It was old, made of wood, crossing a deep ravine. That bridge doesn't look safe, he said. Keep going, Lyra and I urged. Trust me, Ethan drove onto the bridge. It creaked under the truck's weight. In the mirror, he saw the black car pause at the edge of the bridge, then start to cross. When they reached the middle, Lyra and I pulled out her blue device. She pressed something on it and it glowed brightly. Stop the truck, she said. What? They'll catch us. Stop now. Ethan slammed on the brakes. The truck skidded to a halt. Lyra and I pointed the device at the bridge behind them. A pulse of blue light shot out. The wooden beams of the bridge began to crack. The black car stopped. Ethan could see men inside, their faces hidden behind dark glasses. The bridge shook. Then with a terrible sound it broke apart. The black car fell into the ravine below. There was a crash, then silence. Go, Lyra and I said. Bridge will hold for us, but not much longer. Ethan drove forward quickly. Just as they reached solid ground, the rest of the bridge collapsed behind them. Were those men or aliens? Ethan asked, his hands shaking on the wheel. Proxies, Lyra and I said. Half human, half Drahex. Made for hunting. They feel no pain, no fear. Did we kill them? No, hard to kill. They will heal, report to their masters. She touched Ethan's arm. You are now known to them. They will hunt you too. They drove all day without stopping. By nightfall, they had crossed the state line. They parked deep in another forest and ate cold food from cans. We need a plan, Ethan said. We can't run forever, Lyra and I nodded. There is a place. A Drahex outpost hidden on Earth. Has technology we need. To remove your tracker? Yes, and more. To break the bond with my master. She looked at Ethan with hope in her purple eyes. If we can do that, I will be truly free. Where is this outpost? In desert. What you call New Mexico. Ethan calculated the distance in his head. That's at least 3 days' drive from here. We need help, Lyra and I said. I know others who fight Drahex. Some humans who know truth. How do we find them? Lyra and I pointed to her device. This can send message when fully charged, but dangerous. Others might hear. That night, as Ethan slept in the truck, Lyra and I stayed awake. She held her device and whispered to it in her musical language. Blue light pulsed from it up into the night sky. Ethan woke to find her staring at the device. A small dot of green light now glowed on it. Someone answered, she said, her face bright with hope. We have allies. They drove deep into the desert, far from roads and towns. Kate knew a place, an old bunker from the Cold War that the government had forgotten. It was hidden in a canyon, its entrance covered by rocks and sand. Inside, the bunker was dusty but solid. It had rooms underground, old supplies, and a generator that still worked. Miles got the power running, and Olivia found water tanks that were still full. We'll be safe here for a while, Kate said. This place isn't on any maps. That night, they gathered around a table to look at what Miles had downloaded from the Drahex facility. His laptop showed diagrams, data, and maps of Earth. It's worse than we thought, Miles said. They've been changing our atmosphere for decades. Small amounts of chemicals released high in the air, building up slowly. What's the goal? Kate asked. To make Earth more like their homeworld? More methane, less oxygen? In about 300 years, humans wouldn't be able to breathe the air anymore. Olivia studied the chemical formulas. Clever. So slow that natural systems don't react dramatically. No sudden climate shifts to alert us. They've done this before, Lyra and I added. To my world and others. They prepare planets long before taking them. Through their bond, Ethan felt Lyra and I's sadness when she thought of her home. He saw flashes of purple skies turning gray, of people struggling to breathe. "Did your people fight back?" he asked, too late. By time we knew, air already changed too much. Draheks came with ships, took those who could serve, left rest to die. "That won't happen here," Kate said firmly. "Now we know." "We can fight. How?" Miles asked. "We're 5 people against an advanced alien species." "Not just 5, Lyranai said. "Message we sent reached resistance. Others will come." "When?" Olivia asked. "Don't know. Space travel takes time. Could be weeks, months." Kate stood up, looking at each of them. "Then we prepare. We gather allies. We find more humans who know the truth. And the Draheks?" Ethan asked. "They'll be hunting us." "Yes," Lyranai said. "My former master will not stop." Bond theft is worse crime in their eyes. Ethan touched his temple. The bond still felt strange, but less alien now. He was getting used to Lyranai's presence in his mind. Sometimes he caught glimpses of her thoughts, complex and beautiful in ways he couldn't fully understand. "We need to understand this bond better," he said. "If it gives us an advantage, we should use it." Lyranai nodded. "Bond can be powerful. Needs practice to use well." "What can it do?" Kate asked. "Share thoughts. Share senses. Share strength sometimes." Lyranai looked at Ethan. "Work together as one when needed." That night, while the others slept, Ethan and Lyranai sat cross-legged on the floor of a small room. Their knees touched as they faced each other. "Close eyes," Lyranai instructed. "Focus on my voice in your mind." Ethan did as she said. At first he felt nothing unusual. Then slowly he became aware of something beyond his own thoughts, a presence that was both alien and familiar. "I feel you," he said. "Good. Now reach for me. Like using muscle you never used before." Ethan tried. It was strange. How do you reach with your mind? But somehow he did it. The connection between them grew stronger. Suddenly he wasn't just in his own body anymore. He could feel what Lyranai felt. The different way her heart beat, the strange rhythm of her breathing, the way her skin sensed the air differently than his. "This is amazing," he whispered. "More to learn." Lyranai's voice came both from her mouth and inside his mind. Bond can grow stronger with practice. Over the next week, they settled into the bunker and made plans. Kate went out alone sometimes, making contact with other ex-military people she trusted. Miles set up communications equipment to monitor for signs of Draheks activity. Olivia studied the data about the atmospheric changes, looking for ways to reverse the process. Ethan and Lyranai practiced with their bond every day. It grew stronger. Soon they could communicate silently across rooms. Ethan could borrow Lyranai's enhanced senses, seeing in near darkness, hearing sounds too faint for human ears. "Can all your people do this?" he asked one day. "Yes, natural for us to bond, but always with our own kind before." "Am I the first human to bond with one of your people?" Through the bond, he felt her uncertainty. "Maybe, don't know for sure. Old stories tell of other bonds with different species. Rare." 2 weeks after their escape from the facility, Kate returned with news. "Government agencies are looking for us. Our faces are on classified alerts. They're calling us terrorists." "Human collaborators," Lyranai said bitterly. "Working for Draheks. Not all of them know what they're really doing," Kate said. "Most think they're just following orders, hunting domestic threats." "We need to tell people the truth," Ethan said. "About the Draheks, about the atmosphere." "Who would believe us?" Miles asked. "We'd sound crazy." "We have proof," Olivia pointed out. "The data we took." "Not enough," Kate said. "We need more. Something undeniable." Lyranai stood up. "I know what we need. In my crashed ship, special recorder, has images of Draheks worlds, their plans for Earth, visual proof." "Your ship is probably gone," Kate said. "They would have found it, maybe not." "I hid it well. Worth trying. It was risky, but they agreed it was necessary." The next day, Ethan, Lyranai, and Kate set out for Montana in an old truck Kate had acquired. The journey would take several days. As they drove, Ethan noticed Lyranai growing quieter. Through their bond, he felt her anxiety. "What's wrong?" he asked when they stopped for gas. "Bond changing," she said. "Growing. Soon we'll be complete. Is that bad?" "No, natural, but..." She looked away. "When complete, no turning back." "You sure you want this? Want me?" Ethan took her hands. "I'm sure. I've never been more sure of anything." That night, as they camped in a forest, Lyranai explained more about her people. "We evolved as paired beings," she said. long ago before civilization. One hunted, one gathered. One watched for danger while others slept, minds linked for survival. Like perfect teammates, Ethan suggested. Yes. Bond made us stronger together. As we evolved, bond became more. Became about family, love, continuation of species. On Earth, we just date for a while and then get married, Ethan said with a smile. Primitive, Lyra and I teased, her purple eyes bright in the firelight. Through their growing bond, Ethan felt what she couldn't easily express in English, that among her people, the bond was sacred, the foundation of their society, that what they were doing was both natural and revolutionary. No human had ever been part of such a bond before, as far as she knew. They reached Montana 5 days later. The forests were just as Ethan remembered, but it felt like years had passed since he'd left his cabin. Everything had changed. They approached the crash site carefully. No signs of government or Drahek's presence. The crater was still there, but empty. The ship was gone. Too late, Kate said. But Lyra and I shook her head. Ship gone, but not everything. She walked to a certain spot and dug into the earth with her hands. About 2 feet down, she found something. A small metal box with symbols on it. Emergency protocol, she explained. If ship compromised, data stored separately. They took the box and left quickly. That night, Miles connected it to his computer. The screen filled with images that made them all fall silent. Planets with strange skies and landscapes. Massive ships hovering over cities. Beings of different shapes and sizes, many wearing the same control devices Lyra and I had described. And Earth, seen from space with computer models showing how it would change over centuries. This is it, Kate said. The proof we need. How do we share it? Olivia asked. The internet would be tracked immediately. I know people in media, Kate said. Trusted journalists. We send it to all of them at once. Too many sources to shut down. They spent days preparing the data, translating Drahek symbols, creating explanations humans would understand. They worked in shifts, aware that time was running out. One morning, Ethan woke feeling strange. His head pounded. Through the bond, he felt Lyra and I's concern. What's happening? He asked. Final stage of bond, she said, sitting beside him. Your body changing slightly to match mine. My body changing to match yours. Is it dangerous? No, but uncomfortable. We'll pass soon. For 3 days, Ethan experienced fever, headaches, and strange dreams. Lyra and I stayed with him, her cool hand on his forehead. Through their bond, she sent calming thoughts, helped manage the pain. When it ended, Ethan felt different. Stronger. His senses were sharper. He could see better in darkness, hear sounds that would have been too faint before. We are truly bonded now, Lyra and I said. Complete. Kate watched them with scientific interest. You've changed, she told Ethan. Your eyes, they have a slight purple tint now. Miles had been monitoring Drahek's communications. One morning he called them all to his computer. Something's happening, he said. Lots of coded messages. Ship's moving. They're preparing for something, Lyra and I said, reading the symbols. High Commander arrived, giving orders. 2 days later, they got their answer. News reports showed meteor showers visible across the world. But Lyra and I knew better. Not meteors, ships, small ones, carrying proxies and supervisors. Why? Kate asked. What are they doing? Securing key locations, preparing. Lyra and I's face was grim. Invasion coming sooner than planned. Because of us. Because we sent warning to resistance, they needed to act fast. The next day, they sent the data to journalists around the world. Then they split up. Kate and Olivia went east to contact more allies. 2 days later, Ethan and Lyra and I drove into a small town in Colorado. They followed directions from the message Lyra and I had received. The town seemed normal. A main street with shops, a diner, a gas station. People walked around doing everyday things. Are you sure this is right? Ethan asked. Lyra and I nodded. The signal came from here. She pointed to a small coffee shop. There. They parked across the street and watched the shop for an hour. Nothing seemed strange about it. People went in and out with coffee cups. What now? Ethan asked. We go in. Look for woman with red hair. She wears ring with blue stone. Inside the coffee shop, they ordered drinks and sat at a corner table. Ethan scanned the room. No red-headed woman. They waited. After 30 minutes, the door opened. A woman walked in. She had bright red hair cut short. She wore jeans, boots, and a leather jacket. Her eyes moved around the room in a way that seemed practiced, checking every face, every exit. That's her, Lyra and I whispered. The woman bought a coffee and sat at a table alone. Lyra and I stood up. "Wait," Ethan said, grabbing her arm. "What if it's a trap?" "Must take risk," Lyra and I said. She walked to the woman's table. Ethan couldn't hear what they said. The woman looked surprised, then careful. She glanced at Ethan. After a minute of talking, she nodded. Lyra and I waved Ethan over. "This is Kate," Lyra and I said. She knows. Kate's handshake was firm. Her eyes were hard, like someone who had seen too much. "Ex-military intelligence," she said quietly. "Found out some things I wasn't supposed to. Had to disappear. She has safe house," Lyra and I explained. "We go there." They followed Kate's truck out of town. After 20 miles, they turned onto a dirt road that led deep into the mountains. At the end was a small cabin. It looked old from outside, but inside it was modern. Computers, radios, maps on the walls. "Welcome to the Resistance," Kate said. She wasn't alone. A young man sat at a computer. He had dark skin and glasses. "This is Miles," Kate said. "Best hacker I know. He intercepts their transmissions." Another woman came from a back room. She was older, with gray in her blonde hair. "And this is Olivia. She was a scientist at a government lab, studied materials that weren't from Earth." Ethan felt relief flood through him. They weren't alone anymore. That night they sat around Kate's table and shared information. Kate had maps showing locations of suspected Drahex activity across the country. Miles had intercepted coded messages. Olivia had studied the biology of non-human tissue samples. "The outpost in New Mexico is heavily guarded," Kate said, pointing to a spot on the map. "It looks like a research facility on the surface. Underground is where the real action is." "What do they do there?" Ethan asked. "They coordinate all Drahex activity in this part of the world," Miles said. "And they keep technology there. The kind that doesn't exist on Earth yet. Including what we need," Lyra and I added. "Device to remove tracker and break bond." "Getting in won't be easy," Kate warned. "They have human security and proxies, plus energy shields and motion sensors." "I can hack their security systems," Miles offered. "Give us a window to get in." "And I know their biology," Olivia said. "Their weaknesses. They planned for 3 days." Miles gathered information about the facility. Kate prepared weapons and equipment. Olivia mixed chemicals that could knock out proxies without killing them. Lyra and I taught Ethan about Drahex technology and language. "You might need to read signs, operate devices," she explained. Each night Lyra and I's nightmares got worse. She would wake up screaming, her body shaking. "He knows I'm planning something," she told Ethan, pushing harder through the bond. "Can he control you?" Ethan asked, worried. "Not yet. Too far away. But if we meet in person..." She didn't finish the sentence. On the 4th day, they were ready to leave for New Mexico. But as they packed the trucks, Miles came running from the cabin. "They found us," he shouted. "Drone activity just picked up on my sensors." Kate moved quickly, grabbing a rifle. "How long?" "Minutes. Maybe less." They grabbed only what they needed and ran to the trucks. As they pulled away from the cabin, Ethan saw black dots in the sky getting closer. "Drones," Lyra and I said. "Weaponized." They drove fast down the mountain road. The drones followed. One flew ahead of them and hovered over the road. "Down!" Kate shouted from the other truck. Everyone ducked as the drone fired. A laser beam hit the road, making rocks explode. Kate leaned out her window and fired her rifle. The drone fell from the sky. More drones appeared. They fired at the trucks. Ethan swerved to avoid the beams. One hit too close and their truck spun. They crashed into trees at the side of the road. "Run!" Ethan yelled, pulling Lyra and I from the truck. They ran into the forest. Laser beams hit trees around them, setting them on fire. Kate and the others had stopped too. They ran together through the burning woods. "There's a cave system ahead," Kate shouted. "We can lose them there." They found the cave entrance hidden behind rocks. Inside it was dark and cool. They went deeper, using flashlights to see. The sound of drones faded behind them. "They'll send proxies next," Lyra and I warned. "They can track my scent." "The caves connect to an underground river," Kate said. "Water will hide your smell." They walked for an hour through narrow tunnels. The cave floor sloped down. Soon they heard running water. The tunnel opened into a large cavern with a river flowing through it. "We follow this downstream," Kate said. "It comes out miles away." As they waded into the cold water, Ethan heard something. A scraping sound from the tunnel behind them. "They're here," Lyra and I whispered. They moved faster through the water. It got deeper, up to their waists. The current pulled at them. Behind, the sounds got louder. Then they saw them. 3 figures at the cave entrance. They looked human at first glance, but moved wrong. Too smooth, too fast. Their eyes reflected the flashlight beams like animals. Proxies, Miles said, his voice shaking. The proxies sniffed the air. Then they charged, running through the water much faster than should be possible. "Go!" Kate shouted. She raised her rifle and fired. One proxy fell but got up again quickly. Kate fired again. This time it stayed down. "The heads," she shouted. "Aim for the heads." Olivia pulled out a small bottle. She threw it at the approaching proxies. It broke at their feet, releasing a cloud of gas. The proxies staggered, confused. "That won't stop them for long," Olivia said. "Run!" They moved deeper into the river. It got stronger, pulling them along. Soon they couldn't touch the bottom. They had to swim. "There's a waterfall ahead," Kate warned. "Brace yourselves!" The river suddenly dropped. They fell with it down into darkness. Ethan hit cold water hard. He sank, then fought his way to the surface. All around was darkness. "Lyra and I," he called. "Kate!" Voices answered. They swam toward each other. The river carried them out of the mountain into open air. They pulled themselves onto the rocky shore, wet and cold but alive. "Did we lose them?" Miles asked, shivering. "For now," Lyra and I said. Water confused their senses. They were miles from the trucks with only what they carried. Night was coming. They needed shelter. "I know a place," Kate said. "Old hunting cabin about 2 miles from here." They walked through the forest as darkness fell. Everyone was quiet, thinking about the narrow escape. Ethan stayed close to Lyra and I. She looked tired, her normally bright eyes dull. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "Bond is pulling harder," she said. "My master knows I almost died. He is angry. We'll break the bond soon," Ethan promised. "Just hold on." The hunting cabin was small and dusty, but it had a fireplace and canned food. They dried their clothes and rested. "We need a new plan," Kate said. "They know too much about us now." "And we lost most of our equipment," Miles added. Lyra and I sat by the fire, her face serious. "There's another way into the facility," she said. "Not on any map. A tunnel for emergency evacuation. Only slaves know about it." "Where is it?" Kate asked. 5 miles east of main entrance. "Hidden in rock formation. Can you find it?" Lyra and I nodded. "Yes, but we must go soon. My device is damaged from water. Tracker signal getting stronger." They slept in shifts that night, always keeping watch. In the morning, they found an old truck behind the cabin. It took Miles an hour to get it running. "Not pretty, but it'll get us there," he said, wiping grease from his hands. They drove south toward New Mexico. The old truck was slow but steady. They avoided main roads, taking back routes through small towns. "We're being hunted now," Kate warned. "They'll have our descriptions at every checkpoint, every camera." By nightfall, they crossed into New Mexico. The landscape changed to desert. Red rocks and sand, few trees. They could hide less easily here. "We're close," Lyra and I said, looking at the stars. "Facility is just beyond those mountains." They parked the truck in a dry riverbed and continued on foot. The night was cold, the stars bright above them. Ethan looked up and wondered which one was Lyra and I's home. "What will you do?" he asked her as they walked. "If we succeed? If you're free?" Lyra and I looked at him with her purple eyes. "Help free others, fight Drehex, and then, when it's over?" She was quiet for a moment. "Don't know. Never been free to choose." Ethan wanted to say more, but words failed him. Instead, he took her hand. Her skin was cool against his. She didn't pull away. Ahead, lights glowed on the horizon. The Drehex facility waited for them. They reached the rock formation before dawn. It looked natural, red stone shaped by wind and time. But Lyra and I walked straight to a certain spot and pressed her hand against the rock. Lines of blue light spread from her fingers. Part of the stone slid aside, revealing a dark tunnel. "How did you do that?" Miles asked, amazed. "Slave DNA opens it," Lyra and I explained. "Security measure." They entered the tunnel. It sloped down into the earth, lit by faint blue lights along the floor. The air was cool and smelled strange, like metal and something else Ethan couldn't name. "Stay close," Lyra and I whispered. Silent. They walked for 20 minutes. The tunnel ended at a metal door with symbols like those on Lyra and I's suit. She pressed her hand to it and it slid open. Beyond was a large room filled with technology unlike anything Ethan had seen. Screens showed images of stars and planets. Strange machines hummed. The walls were made of a material that seemed to shift and change color. "Maintenance level," Lyra and I said. "Not many guards here." Kate checked her weapons. What's the plan? Medical bay 2 levels up. Lyra and I pointed to a glowing panel on the wall. Has equipment we need. Then to communication center to send warning to resistance. Warning about what? Olivia asked. Terraforming, Lyra and I said. Draheks changing Earth's air, making it like their world. This was new information. Ethan felt cold fear.
They're changing our atmosphere.
Slowly, few hundred years, but already started. They moved through the facility carefully. Lyra and I led them through service corridors used by slaves. They saw a few others. Occasionally, a being like Lyra and I would pass, eyes down, not looking at them. Once they had to hide as 2 tall insect-like creatures walked by, speaking in clicking sounds. Draheks supervisors, Lyra and I whispered. Not full Draheks, but higher rank. They reached a transport tube, a cylinder of energy that would take them up to the medical level. One by one, they stepped into it and were lifted up, floating in light. The medical bay was larger than Ethan expected. Rows of tables with strange equipment hung above them. Some tables had bodies on them, some human-looking, some definitely not. Are they dead? Ethan asked, looking at the still forms. No, being modified, changed to serve better. Lyra and I's voice was tight with old pain. Olivia examined the equipment with professional interest. This technology is incredible. Their understanding of biology must be far beyond ours. This is what we need. Lyra and I pointed to a device that looked like a silver helmet with wires coming from it. Neural resequencer. Will remove tracker and break bond. Will it hurt you? Ethan asked. Yes, but necessary. Miles went to a computer terminal. I'll try to download their research while we're here. Could help us understand what they're planning. As Miles worked, Lyra and I lay on an empty table. Olivia helped her position the helmet on her head. How does it work? Olivia asked. Finds foreign objects in brain, dissolves connection to nervous system. Lyra and I took a deep breath, then breaks mental pathways created by bonding. Ready? Olivia asked. Lyra and I nodded. Do it. Olivia pressed symbols on the helmet. It began to glow. Lyra and I's body went rigid. Her eyes opened wide, all purple with no pupil showing. A sound came from her throat. Not a scream, but something worse, a sound no human could make. Ethan grabbed her hand. Hold on, he said. We're here. The process took 10 minutes. 10 minutes of watching Lyra and I suffer. Her body arching off the table, blue tears running from her eyes. Finally, the helmet stopped glowing. Lyra and I fell back, gasping. Did it work? Kate asked. Lyra and I touched the back of her neck. Tracker gone. She closed her eyes. Bond weaker, not gone completely. Why not? Ethan asked. Need new bond to replace old one. Mind cannot be alone. Her purple eyes looked at Ethan. Later. We'll explain later. An alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Red lights flashed. They know we're here, Kate said, raising her weapon. Miles unplugged from the terminal. Got what I could. Lots of data about Earth's atmosphere, ocean chemistry. To communications center, Lyra and I said, standing shakily. Must warn others. They ran through corridors now filled with flashing lights. The alarm made a wailing sound that hurt Ethan's ears. They passed panicked slave beings running in all directions. This way, Lyra and I called, leading them down a side passage. They reached a security door. Lyra and I placed her hand on it, but nothing happened. My DNA no longer recognized, she said. System knows I am free now. Kate pushed forward. Stand back. She placed a small device on the door, something she'd kept hidden until now. Old CIA trick, she explained as she said it. Still works on Earth tech. Hope it works on alien tech too. The device beeped, then the door slid open. Beyond was a room filled with what looked like glass pillars reaching from floor to ceiling. Each pillar contained swirling light. Quantum communication array, Lyra and I explained. Can send messages faster than light. To other worlds. Miles went to a control panel. Tell me what to do. Lyra and I stood beside him, guiding his hands. This sequence will connect to Resistance Network. Send data about terraforming project. Ask for help. As they worked, the door behind them opened again. 3 proxies entered, followed by something else. A tall being with multiple limbs and a head that seemed to be mostly eyes. It wore a suit of shifting metal that flowed around its body like liquid. Draheks, Lyra and I whispered, her voice filled with terror. My master, the Draheks spoke, its voice like stones grinding together. Property 27-9, you disappoint me. The proxies moved forward fast and fluid. Kate fired her weapon. One proxy fell but quickly got up again. Olivia threw her last chemical grenade. The gas slowed the proxies but didn't stop them. Ethan grabbed a piece of equipment and swung it at the nearest proxy. It connected with a crack, and the proxy staggered back. But the other two reached them, grabbing Kate and Olivia. Kate fought hard, breaking free long enough to shoot another proxy in the head. This time it stayed down. The Drahex stood watching, its many eyes blinking in different patterns. It raised one long limb, and Liranai suddenly screamed. She fell to her knees, holding her head. "Bond not fully broken," the Drahex said. "Still mine." Ethan ran to Liranai. "Fight it!" he shouted. "You're free now." "Not free," she gasped. "Need new bond." The Drahex moved closer. "Return to your place, property. Your punishment will be severe but not fatal. You are still useful." Miles was still at the communication panel. "Almost got it," he called. "Few more seconds." The last proxy grabbed Miles, pulling him away from the panel. Olivia was pinned against a wall, struggling. Kate was still fighting but losing ground. Ethan stood between Liranai and the Drahex. "You can't have her," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. The Drahex made a sound like broken glass, a laugh. "Human, you understand nothing. She is made to serve. It is her purpose. No one is made to be a slave," Ethan said. "Everyone deserves freedom. Freedom is illusion. All serve something." The Drahex raised its limb again. "Now witness real power," pain exploded in Ethan's head. He fell to his knees. It felt like his brain was on fire. The Drahex was in his mind somehow, pushing, tearing. Through the pain, he heard Liranai cry out. "No, not him." She crawled to Ethan, her face twisted with effort. She placed her hands on his temples. "Make bond with me," she gasped. "Only way to save both. How?" Ethan managed to ask through the pain. "Open mind to me. Accept me." Her purple eyes stared into his. "Trust me." Ethan didn't understand, but he trusted her. He nodded. Liranai pressed her forehead to his. A sensation like cold water flowed from her into him, through his mind, down his spine. Images flashed. A world with purple skies, strange cities, Liranai as a child, Liranai in chains, Liranai in a ship looking down at Earth for the first time. The Drahex screamed in rage. Its mental attack intensified, but now it felt distant, like it couldn't quite reach Ethan anymore. "What have you done?" the Drahex demanded. "Impossible." Liranai stood, pulling Ethan up with her. "Not impossible. Just forbidden. Human mind strong enough for bond." Ethan felt strange, like his head contained more than just himself. He could feel Liranai there, a presence both alien and familiar. "I can hear your thoughts," he said, amazed. "Yes. We are bonded now." She turned to the Drahex. "He is my bondmate now, not you." "Never you again," the Drahex hissed, all its eyes focused on them. "Abomination." No slave may bond with lesser species. While the Drahex was distracted, Miles broke free from the weakened proxy. He lunged for the communication panel and pressed the final sequence. The glass pillars pulsed with light. A sound like a bell rang through the room. Messages were going out across the stars. "No." The Drahex moved toward Miles, but Kate shot it from behind. The bullet didn't penetrate its liquid metal suit, but the impact made it stumble. "We need to go," Kate shouted. "Now!" They ran for the door. The proxies pursued, but slower now, damaged from the fight. The Drahex screamed commands in its grinding language. They raced through corridors, following Liranai. In Ethan's mind, he could feel her directing him, showing him the way out. It was the strangest experience of his life. Thoughts and feelings that weren't his own flowing through his consciousness. They reached the transport tube and descended to the maintenance level. Alarms still blared. More proxies were coming. "Almost there," Liranai called. They found the tunnel entrance, but proxies were right behind them. Kate turned to fight, giving the others time to get through the door.